Edward, a man whose silver hair mirrored the wisdom etched in his eyes, often found himself gazing into the bathroom mirror with a sigh. The lines around his eyes, once faint whispers, were now deep narratives of a life lived. His shoulders, once broad and unyielding, carried a slight stoop, a testament to years of responsibility. He wasn't old, not truly, but the youthful vigor he remembered was a distant echo. Like many men his age, he often wondered if he was becoming invisible, a forgotten portrait in the gallery of life. He'd spent decades building a reputable career, raising a family, and contributing to his community. Yet, in the quiet moments, a subtle unease would creep in. The world seemed to gravitate towards the vibrant energy of youth, leaving men like him feeling like an afterthought. He rarely thought of himself as good-looking anymore. That was a label reserved for magazine covers and fleeting online trends. Edward believed his appeal, if any, lay solely in his history, his stories, and the comfort of familiarity. This self-assessment, however, was a silent narrative he had constructed for himself. It was a story told in the privacy of his own mind, far removed from the genuine perceptions of those around him. He didn't see the subtle glances, the comfortable smiles, or the genuine respect that followed him like a gentle shadow. He was so focused on the superficial changes of age that he overlooked the profound strength and allure that had deepened within him. He was about to embark on a journey, not of grand adventures, but of quiet observations. A journey that would slowly peel back the layers of his self-doubt and reveal a truth he had long overlooked. That the beauty of an older man isn't found in the absence of wrinkles, but in the richness of his character, the depth of his presence, and the unspoken connection he fosters with the world. Edward spent his mornings at the Daily Grind, a small, bustling coffee shop near the park. He preferred a corner table, a good book, and the quiet hum of conversation. One particular morning, a young woman, perhaps in her late 20s, spilled her latte near his table. Flustered, she began apologizing profusely. Edward, without a second thought, calmly offered her a napkin from his pocket and a reassuring smile. "No harm done, dear," he said. She accepted the napkin, her initial panic subsiding. Instead of rushing away, she found herself lingering, engaging him in a light conversation about the unpredictable nature of coffee spills. She spoke freely, sharing a small anecdote about her own morning mishap, her laughter ringing genuine. Edward noticed how easily she spoke to him, without the guardedness or performative politeness he sometimes encountered from younger individuals. It was as if his presence offered an unspoken permission for her to simply be herself. This wasn't an isolated incident. He observed similar interactions with other younger women in various settings. At the community garden, a university student often sought his advice on her struggling tomato plants, listening intently to his years of gardening wisdom. At the local library, a young librarian would engage him in discussions about classic literature, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest in his perspectives. There was an ease, a comfort, that seemed to emanate from them whenever they were in his vicinity. Edward, still clouded by his self-perception, dismissed these interactions as politeness or simple curiosity due to his age. He didn't connect it to any personal appeal. He failed to see that this comfort was a powerful signal, a quiet acknowledgement of his grounded nature and the non-threatening, reassuring aura he carried. They weren't just being polite, they were drawn to his calm demeanor, his maturity. Sense of security he unconsciously projected. Edward had always been a man who appreciated quality, not extravagance. His clothes were well maintained, his shoes polished, and his silver hair, though thinning, was always neatly combed. He wasn't particularly fashion conscious, yet he instinctively understood the power of presenting oneself with dignity. He'd often receive comments, seemingly innocuous, about his appearance. "Mr. Davies, you always look so sharp. Why?" a young cashier at the grocery store would say, or, "I love that jacket on you, Edward," from a neighbor. He brushed these compliments off, attributing them to the fact that he simply wasn't disheveled. He didn't connect them to a deeper appreciation of his style. What he didn't realize was that his approach to grooming and attire spoke volumes about his self-respect and attention to detail. In a world often leaning towards casual indifference, his quiet elegance stood out, a testament to a man who valued himself and, by extension, those around him. His style wasn't trendy, but timeless. He favored classic cuts, natural fabrics, and a palette of muted, sophisticated colors. This consistency created a signature look, a quiet statement of his identity. It showed a man who knew what suited him, what felt comfortable, and what reflected his journey through life. This assuredness in his personal presentation was subtly magnetic, conveying a sense of stability and self-awareness. More than just the clothes, it was the way he wore them. There was a quiet confidence in his posture, a relaxed ease that made everything look natural and unforced. This attention to detail, from his well-trimmed beard to the subtle scent of his aftershave, projected an image of a man who cared without being vain. Tershave. It was this quiet dignity, this understated appeal, that drew people's eyes and elicited genuine, often unconscious, admiration. One afternoon, while enjoying a quiet moment on a park bench, Edward noticed a young woman reading on a nearby bench. He glanced over, then back to his own book. A few moments later, he felt a subtle shift in the air and, looking up, caught her gaze. Her eyes, wide and curious, lingered on him for a beat longer than polite acknowledgement before she quickly looked away, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. Edward, unaccustomed to such direct attention, simply returned to his reading, attributing it to mere coincidence. He started noticing these subtle, prolonged glances in other settings. At a local art exhibition, as he stood admiring a landscape painting, he felt a presence beside him. Turning slightly, he saw a young woman, her eyes fixed on him, a thoughtful expression on her face. When their eyes met, she offered a small, shy smile before turning back to the art. It wasn't an overt stare, but a soft, curious lingering, a subtle acknowledgement of his presence. These moments were fleeting, often lasting only a second or two more than standard eye contact, but they held a distinct weight. They were not aggressive or intrusive, but rather gentle invitations, unspoken questions. Edward, however, interpreted them as simple observations, perhaps even misinterpretations on his part. He didn't consider that these lingering looks were a form of silent admiration, a sign that something about his calm demeanor or distinguished appearance had captured their attention. He was so used to seeing himself through the lens of age, rather than appeal, that he missed the quiet curiosity in these gazes. These weren't just random glances. They were deliberate moments where his presence registered in a way that prompted a second, deeper look. It was a testament to the quiet magnetism he possessed, a magnetism that transcended youthful beauty and spoke to a deeper, more enduring attractiveness. Edward had always believed in staying active. His mornings often began with a brisk walk in the park, and he enjoyed tending to his garden, which was a vibrant tapestry of flowers and vegetables. He wasn't a bodybuilder, nor did he aim for extreme athleticism, but he prioritized his health and physical well-being. These habits were simply a part of his routine, not a conscious effort to attract attention. Yet, he would sometimes overhear comments, subtle but telling. "You're always on the move, Edward. I admire that," a younger neighbor once remarked. Or, "I hope I have half your energy when I'm your age," from a colleague at a community event. These weren't direct compliments on his physique, but rather on his vitality and the enduring strength he exuded. His fitness wasn't about sculpted muscles, but about the ease with which he carried himself. The steady pace of his walk and the clear-eyed energy he brought to his daily activities. It reflected a man who cared for himself, not out of vanity, but out of a respect for his own well-being. This self-care radiated outwards, conveying a sense of resilience and sustained engagement with life. This vitality was deeply attractive. It showed that he was a man who embraced life, who remained engaged and active, rather than succumbing to the stereotypes of aging. It was in the spring in his step, the clear alertness in his eyes, and the quiet strength in his movements. This unspoken testament to his active lifestyle wasn't just about physical looks. It was about the vibrant energy he brought to every interaction, a quality that resonated deeply with others. Edward had a knack for lighthearted humor. His jokes weren't always polished or witty. Sometimes they bordered on the wonderfully corny, the kind of dad jokes that might elicit a groan from some. Yet, he often found that women, particularly younger ones, would laugh, genuinely and heartily, at his attempts at humor. He'd often attribute it to their politeness, or perhaps even their amusement at his quaintness. One evening, at a neighborhood potluck, Edward told a rather silly story about a squirrel's antics in his garden. A young woman, a new resident, burst into genuine laughter, a bright, uninhibited sound that filled the air. Her laughter was infectious, making others smile. Edward felt a warmth spread through him, but he still didn't quite grasp the depth of the connection his humor was forging. This laughter wasn't just about the punchline. It was about the shared moment of joy, the comfortable atmosphere he created. His ability to make others laugh, even with simple, unpretentious humor, signaled an emotional intelligence and a lack of self-importance. It showed he was comfortable enough to be playful and lighthearted, a quality that many found deeply endearing. When a woman laughed at his jokes, it wasn't just a sign of amusement. It was a clear indication that she felt at ease in his presence, that she enjoyed his company, and that he had managed to brighten her moment. This shared laughter built an unspoken rapport, a bridge of connection that transcended age and experience. It was a powerful form of attraction, rooted in the simple, profound act of sharing happiness. As Edward continued his quiet observations, he started noticing the more subtle, almost imperceptible ways women expressed interest. He'd recall a conversation at the park where a young woman, while talking, would unconsciously run her fingers through her hair or lightly brush a stray strand behind her ear. He remembered another instance where, during a discussion, a woman subtly mirrored his posture, leaning in slightly when he did, or crossing her legs similarly. There were also the seemingly accidental touches, a fleeting brush of her hand against his arm as she reached for something, or a brief, almost imperceptible contact as they passed in a narrow hallway. These weren't overt actions, but rather delicate probes, a way of testing the waters without being too forward. Edward, who had always been a little oblivious to such nuances, began to see them for what they were, quiet invitations. He noticed how these subtle gestures were often accompanied by other nonverbal cues. Prolonged eye contact that held a deeper curiosity, a genuine smile that reached her eyes, or a subtle leaning in during conversations, indicating a desire for closeness. It was a complex dance of body language, a silent language of attraction that he was only just beginning to decipher. These signals, once overlooked, now appeared as clear affirmations of interest. They showed that his presence, his character, and his authentic self were resonating with others in a powerful way. It wasn't about chasing fleeting youth, but about recognizing the enduring appeal of a man who carried himself with dignity, wisdom, and a genuine connection to the world. He realized these were not mere coincidences, but deliberate, albeit subtle, expressions of attraction. Edward finally looked into the mirror, not with a sigh of resignation, but with a newfound clarity. The lines on his face were no longer signs of decay, but etchings of experience, each one a testament to a life lived fully. His silver hair shimmered, not with age, but with the quiet dignity of time. He began to see past the superficial and into the essence of his being. He understood now that attractiveness wasn't a fleeting youth, but a deep well of character, confidence, and genuine connection. It was in the comfort he offered, the respect he commanded, the wisdom he shared, and the joy he inspired. He realized that the world, particularly younger women, saw him not as an old man, but as a man of substance, a safe harbor, a compelling presence. The age gap relationships he had dimly considered were not about chasing youth, but about the natural connections that formed when genuine qualities met open hearts. His appeal wasn't about trying to be someone he wasn't, but about embracing all that he was. The moral of his story was clear. You don't think so, but your true attractiveness, your enduring appeal, lies in the richness of your life, the depth of your wisdom, and the authentic confidence you carry. Edward walked out that morning, not with a changed face, but with a changed perspective. The world hadn't altered, but his perception of himself within it had. He carried himself a little taller, his smile a little brighter, for he finally saw what others had seen all along, a truly good-looking man, inside and out. Thanks for watching. Hit the bell icon for the daily updates. Please do like, subscribe, and share with your friends.